Have racers always been as salty as they appear to be lately? I see these guys, you never heard about the fights, but the media was never focused as much as it is now.
Absolutely. Now you got cameras following guys everywhere. Actually, racing has really tamed down versus back in the days. There's a famous story from the 1950s in NASCAR at what was then the Cup level. It was called the Grand National back then. But there was a story about a racer being upset because the flagman put the black flag out to send him into the pits. First time around, he ignored it. Second time around, they waved the black flag again. Third time around, the guy took a shot at the flagman. That black flag came down pretty quick. There's also some stories of great fights in the pit area. Famous driver by the name of Tiny Lund once got out and was messing around with Lee Petty. And next thing you know, he was finding himself flat out on the ground. He had been decked by Lee Petty's wife, who had a brick in her purse. So the stories from the old days of NASCAR are certainly more colorful than what we see today. There are still some very salty personalities at the track, but once the cameras go on, usually they can't afford to be as salty because the big money sponsors just won't tolerate it.
You talk about some of the class acts in racing, and obviously still the king comes to mind. Everyone loves and adores Richard Petty. Have a chance to be around him at all, or how close were you to seeing him in your years?
I've gotten a chance to do a very quick interview with the king. With Richard Petty, the one thing is he is the most accessible person in the sport and always has been. Back in the 60s and 70s when the sport was just growing, he would sit out on the pit wall and sign autographs until the very last fan went home. Nowadays, even though there's millions more fans, if he's walking through the garage area, he always stops to sign autographs. A lot of the drivers, a lot of the owners, they're busy people. They're moving from here to there, and they've got a lot of work to do. And a lot of times they don't have time to take care of every single one of the paying customers, their fans. But Richard Petty has always been there back in the day when he was the famous driver, and even now today, he'll stop and get pictures taken with people. He will make each person that he has an encounter with feel like they're the most special person out there at the track.